I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people who do the most, take a look at Abraham Lincoln. The people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much. President Donald Trump. I think it was pretty good.
From high atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where you have our word, this program will be presented in its entirety, no matter how many crazed gunmen try to interfere. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Welcome to the Last Radius. Great to see you, as it always is. So, did you watch the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night? No, of course you didn't, until you did. Because if you're like most people, you were furiously mashing your little sausage fingers into the remote trying to turn that bad boy on as soon as you heard the news that there were shots fired. And by shots fired, I don't mean some dumb woke comedian making a bad Orange Man joke. Nah, we were talking shots fired in terms of like, damn, that son of a bitch did a full-on touchdown run down that corridor and tried to swan dive through that magnetometer, dispatching Secret Service agents right and left in a two-fisted blaze of glory like he was the bastard love child of Neo and John Wick and some other Keanu Reeves character. What did he plan on doing next if he actually gained entry to the room with all the high-value targets in it? Unclear. But I'm sure it looked really cool in his mind when he imagined it, specifically his mind that has been stewing in the radicalized broth of the California State University system for the past 9 years. But I'm sure those things are totally unrelated. What a remarkable coincidence this is. Who could have guessed? But do you want to hear a fucked up story? Of course you do. There's no other reason why you would be here. So, as you may have heard, last night was the first time Trump attended this thing since 2011. And that is an important date, which we will be coming back to for reasons that some of you will have already correctly surmised. He didn't attend any of the events that took place during his first term, of which there were only 3, the last one being called off on account of the great communist Chinese Wuhan Kung Flu coronavirus of 2019. And was anybody sad when the thing got called off? Well, not anybody living outside the District of Columbia. I mean, this used to be an event that was far more classy and urbane and good-natured back in a pre-Trump world, as many other things were. Or to put it more precisely, a world where Trump was not yet a Republican politician, which will ultimately lead us back to 2011, that fateful night when the Biden-Obama administration fertilized the political ground with a cocktail of hubris and stupidity, and upon that spot, grew Donald Trump's presidency, but we are not there just yet because you are not getting out of this goddamn monologue without a goddamn history lesson. God damn it. So, what is the White House Correspondents' Dinner? It is exactly the thing it seems like it is. It is an excuse for our self-styled ruling class to indulge in ritualized self-satisfaction. Because who, after all, doesn't love the chance to put on fancy rented clothes and eat a very expensive dinner while exulting in one's own residence in the first estate or the fourth estate, as the case may be? You can tell which estate you're in by your proximity to the rostrum. When did the thing originate? A little over a century ago, the 7th of May, 1921 to be exact. Not much of note seems to have happened at that first one. If there were any performers, nobody recorded their identities. So all in all, it sounds like a fairly bleak affair. I hope the dinner was good at least. And things went on that way for the first few years, but business picked up in the fourth year in 1924, when Calvin Coolidge, Silent Cal to his friends, became, perhaps improbably, the first president to attend the Correspondents' Dinner. Why do I say improbably? Well, because when the world gives you a nickname like Silent Cal, it doesn't do that by accident. For Mr. Coolidge is indeed one of an exceeding few of our nation's chief executives about whom it can be said that non-loquacity was their central defining character trait. In fact, if Coolidge is famous for anything, it's for being so famously taciturn and so famously reticent to ever speak more words than the occasion required, which is to say, if we are making a list of presidents most likely to be amenable to yucking it up in a room full of politicians and news reporters, Cal Coolidge is not the guy you would stick in the number one spot, but here we are. You know, there is one Calvin Coolidge story that everybody knows, and it's the story where he is seated at dinner next to a woman he doesn't know, and she self-confidently asserts, "Mr. President, I have a bet with a friend that I will be able to get more than 2 words out of you tonight." And Coolidge just smiles and says, "You lose." Is it possible that story is apocryphal? Yes. Do I care? I do not. Coolidge continued attending the event each year until the end of his term in 1928, and then Herbert Hoover continued the tradition when he took over. In 1930, the dinner had to be canceled owing to the death of former President and current Chief Justice William Howard Taft. But for Hoover, this may have been a blessing in disguise, since there were a lot of jokes being made at his expense in 1930, and very few of them were good-natured. Aside from which, probably not the world's greatest look, holding a self-congratulatory black tie circle jerk as the Dust Bowl rages and a quarter of the country is out of work. To put it in the parlance of a fancy 21st century political consultant, the optics of that thing are decidedly suboptimal. The dinner doesn't get canceled again until 1942, which stands to reason. Probably not the best time for a tuxedo party, 100-odd days after Pearl Harbor. They picked it up again in 1943, and not much noteworthy happened. But you know what they decided in 1944? They said, we can put this damn thing on the radio and use it to sell war bonds. Imagine that. The Washington news media participating in a patriotic cause. I know, it's a lot to take in. And if we're going to use this thing to raise money for the war, if we're going to make it into a mass media entertainment product for the populace at large and not just politicians and people who write about politicians, well, we're going to need some big fucking names up in this bitch. And oh boy, did they get some big names. Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Bob freaking Hope, ladies and gentlemen. And the other big names? Brace yourself, because here it comes. Fritz Chrysler, Gracie Fields, Pedro Vargas, Fred Waring, Elsie Janis, Ed Gardner, Nan Merriman, and Robert Merrill. Do I know who the hell any of those people are? I do not. But I'm sure they were very impressive names back in their day. Maybe not as impressive as Bob Hope, but the host digresses. And since I know some rapscallion in the chat is going to request to know who all of those people are, I, your humble correspondent, will preemptively supply that information. Fritz Chrysler was an Austrian-American violinist and composer, probably pissed off that his country got Anschlussed by the Nazis. Gracie Fields, British actress, reputedly one of the top 10 starlets of the British silver screen in the 1930s. Pedro Vargas, a Mexican film star of some considerable repute. Fred Waring, bandleader, choral director, radio personality, sometimes referred to as the man who taught America how to sing. And one shudders to imagine how bad we might sound if he hadn't taught us. Elsie Janis, starlet of stage and screen, noted sex symbol of the First World War. She was a pinup girl before pinup girls were a thing, affectionately known as the sweetheart of the American Expeditionary Force. You know, I knew a girl in high school whose nickname was the sweetheart of Camp Pendleton. But I guess that's neither here nor there. Elsie is in her late 50s now, fellas, but she is still shaking her withered moneymaker for good old Uncle Sam, and she wants you to remember that special feeling she gave you back in that trench in the Argonne Forest in 1918. In fact, she wants you to reach inside your trousers just one more time just for her and pull out a big fat wad of war bond cash. Ed Gardner, comedian, writer, director, a veritable Swiss Army knife in human form, best remembered as the creator and the star of the immortal Duffy's Tavern radio comedy series. Nan Merriman, big fancy opera singer, noted for her interpretations of the works of Toscanini. And last but certainly not least, Robert Merrill, another opera singer. And who can forget his legendary performance as Count de Luna in Verdi's Il Trovatore at the Metropolitan Opera? I know I never will. That is for damn sure. And with a lineup of talent like that, as you might expect, the 1944 Correspondents' Dinner was quite the smashing success. War bonds were sold in their millions, so that means we dial up the star power even higher for 1945. And we can let our hair down a little bit this year. I mean, we have nearly won the war. So you know what those swinging youngsters would really love this year. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to your master of ceremonies, that world-famous heartthrob crooner himself, Mr. Frank Sinatra. Also on the bill, Danny Thomas, Jimmy Durante, Fanny Bryce, Danny Kaye, Gary Moore. And I've heard of all those people, and so have you, so I don't need to explain who they are. And look, if you don't know who the hell Fanny Bryce is, I am just going to let you attempt to live with the shame of your own ignorance. Ed Sullivan hosted the thing for a stretch of years, beginning the very next year in 1946. And this is before he's on TV. I guess, strictly speaking, it's before anybody is on TV, even Howdy Goddamn Doody. In 1951, Harry Truman takes the unusual step of canceling the dinner outright rather than simply declining to attend, which other presidents had also done from time to time. Asked for his rationale regarding the cancellation, the president gave only the cryptic reply, "It's due to the uncertainty of the world situation." And in retrospect, knowing what we know now about what was going on behind the scenes, one could interpret that quote pretty ominously. The Chi-Coms have recently entered the Korean War. From the U.S. perspective, this thing has turned from an easy victory into a bit of a bloody quagmire. MacArthur says he wants to drop bombs on Chinese targets, up to and including the nuclear kind, in order to force their asses out of the war. Truman worries that MacArthur might, in fact, drop nukes on China without explicit command authority. He worries, furthermore, that a nuclear attack by the U.S. upon China might elicit a nuclear response by the Soviet Union. He worries, additionally, that MacArthur is trying to force his own firing so he can come home and run for president in 1952 as the Republican nominee, which in the actual event, he did succeed in getting himself fired, only to find that bastard Eisenhower had beaten him into the ex-general running for GOP nomination lane. Sucks for him. The point being, maybe Truman canceled the Correspondents' Dinner because he thought that wasn't the best place for the president to be at the exact moment when nuclear Armageddon pops off. And if so, he probably wasn't wrong. But then who can say, really? Now, between the mid-50s and the mid-60s, there's a fun succession of hosts and featured performers at the WHCD. Just to name a few, Bob Hope, he returns as MC in 1953. Milton Berle, everybody loves Uncle Milty. Duke Ellington, Tennessee Ernie Ford, Irving Berlin, Nat King Cole, Dizzy Gillespie, Patty James, James Cagney takes over as MC in 1956, Peter Sellers, Benny Goodman, Merv Griffin, even the goddamn Smothers Brothers. Oh, but then things start getting a little bit edgy in the late 60s. First Richard Pryor, then George Carlin, and by 1971, President Richard Nixon, a man who even in the best of times wasn't that well disposed to sitting and listening to jokes being made at his expense, was openly grousing about how much he hated going to the Correspondents' Dinner. He famously described the 1971 edition as probably the worst type of this event that I have ever attended, and he called the attendees a drunken group, crude, and terribly cruel. And all things being equal, that was probably a fair assessment of the direction in which this event was generally going to go over the course of the coming decades. By the mid-70s, after Nixon himself had successfully been driven from office through the coordinated efforts of the press and the federal bureaucracy, there were new limits on the extent to which these groups of people could credibly pretend to be enjoying a pleasant meal and some good-natured barbs at one another's expense. The tone of the event changed. What had become fraternal became something more adversarial. But of course, it also depended a lot on which party happened to be occupying the White House. Nobody really messed with Reagan when he was in office. Reagan was a showbiz guy, after all. He was in his natural element in this kind of setting. If his enemies tried to use an event like this to make him look bad, he would make them look worse. Consequently, there's sort of an uneasy detente at the WHCD throughout the 80s and into the 90s. The Clinton years come and go, the Bush years come and go, and the Correspondents' Dinner alternates in tone accordingly. When the president is a Democrat, the event has a flavor of, we all love you unconditionally, but we are going to very gently poke just a tiny bit of fun at you. When the president's a Republican, the flavor is, we really do genuinely hate your guts with the white-hot burning intensity of 1,000 suns, but we're going to pretend to good-naturedly coexist for a few hours. And then, inevitably, we arrive at 2011. What's Donald Trump up to in 2011? Well, he is still hosting Celebrity Apprentice. He's still mostly a television celebrity, but there have been some troubling developments recently. The first troubling development comes in 2009, when Trump switches his registration from Democrat to Republican. Now, when you spurn the Democrats and go over to the other side, that is not the sort of thing they ever forgive. They are kind of like Muslims that way, so maybe the two groups aren't such strange bedfellows after all. Trump was also first starting to build a big Twitter following around this time, and much of the content he posted on Twitter had to do with the question of President Barack Obama's birthplace. Did he ever actually believe any of that stuff in his heart of hearts? Well, it's impossible to say, really. But it also doesn't matter, because Trump was figuring out in real time how to build a political base in the 21st century and how to do it outside the auspices of anybody's party machinery. And let's not pretend the Biden-Obama regime didn't view Trump as a potential political threat, because if they didn't, they would not have gone to the trouble of making the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner into a dedicated, purpose-built Donald Trump humiliation ritual. It's impossible to say what sort of assurances it took in order to get him to accept the invitation. Probably something along the lines of, well, there'll be some gentle barbs, a jab or two, but it's all going to be very good-natured. Of course, in the event, it was never going to be good-natured. The whole point of the evening was going to be making Trump look like such an idiot, such a fool, that he could never possibly have a political future of which to speak after we get through with him. And it started immediately with Seth Meyers, master of ceremonies and dutiful party operative, giving an opening monologue devoted almost entirely to slandering Trump. Then Biden got up there and took his turn raking Trump over the coals, and then Obama got up there and took his turn. I expect when the event was over, they all traded high fives with each other and toasted their success in strangling the political future of Donald Trump while it was still in its crib. What did Trump do? Well, he's since claimed that the Correspondents' Dinner humiliation ritual didn't influence his ultimate decision of whether to run for president or not. Do I believe him? No, I don't. Where Obama and Biden saw the 2011 WHCD as closing the coffin lid on Trump's political prospects, Trump saw it as a throwing down of the gauntlet. I think Trump saw that evening as the marrying up of the political and the personal. In other words, I already had a set of distinct reasons why I was contemplating entering politics, but now I have a new reason, and a very powerful one, and that is personal retribution. And what's the best kind of retribution to get in this case? It is being the son of a bitch who personally ushers Obama and Biden out of the White House in January of 2017. I have 6 years. I best get to work. Now, some might say none of this really matters, and those few hours on that one evening didn't palpably affect the course of future events. But don't we also have to consider the counterfactual? Well, we always consider the counterfactual on this program, so that is a rhetorical question, and the answer is yes. What if the Obama-Biden gang doesn't invite Trump to the dinner? What if they pay no attention and leave him to his own devices? What if they take the attitude of, he's just a rabble-rousing, loudmouth birther trying to pump up his Twitter stats? Would Trump be the president today? Would he have ever run for president at all? I know it makes the denizens of the media Democrat complex very uncomfortable to talk about any of this stuff, which was why they have done their level best to memory hole the 2011 WHCD and thus to minimize any awkward exploration of the ramifications of that one act of hubristic self-assurance may or may not have had on the subsequent political life of the nation. So what is the moral of this story? I will leave that to the judgment of the individual viewer. As for myself, I have got a stack of Elsie Janis pictures and a fresh bottle of baby oil that I got from the Puff Diddy Daddy liquidation sale. No pun intended. So I am fixing to be busy for about the next 15 minutes, and I thus transmit you fine people into the custody of my distinguished colleague, your illustrious co-host, the one and only, your friend and mine, Mr. Caucasian Sasquatch.
Tactical nuke incoming!
Good evening. Welcome to the Blast Radios. Tonight, we're going to talk about him. Iconography, imagery, propaganda, perhaps even meanings. I mean, who knows where that conversation can go. Also, I'm gonna do a little bit of a alternate history question, has to do with the first king of Normandy, who, as I remember it, and I could be a bit off base, was a bit of a barbarian, converted Viking perhaps. And what would happen hypothetically if the first king of Normandy had opened his lands to the Vikings instead of standing against them? Who knows? But let's do the thing with the thing and the stuff. What up, bud?
All I know is Rollo is one of the great regnal names of all time. Somebody should bring it back.
Right? I got no problem with that. I might name myself.
I also like Pepin, and a lot of the Merovingian, Carolingian king names. And they also did the. I think that's where Martin got the Westerosi habit of applying an epithet to each king, because they had like Charles the Bald, Pepin the Fat, Louis the Stupid. I love that habit. All monarchies should do that. Instead of just giving them numbers, give them adjectives.
Right.
Give them name them after their central defining character trait, and then they will be remembered better. Charles the
Albert
Fat,
the Big Nose.
Yeah, all of that stuff is more memorable than a Roman numeral. Is all I'm saying.
Agreed, and also more colorful.
Indeed.
So they had a dude make the long run through. He tried to John Wick it, dude. Straight up tried to John Wick it, right? He tried to gun fu his way in there. How dare he?
I know and I am a bit troubled that the reaction time on the part of the agents he was dashing past wasn't a bit quicker. I'd like to see more of a hair trigger response, shall we say? Maybe.
I'm curious how he got that close.
I know. I'm just saying, if you were in that cordon of Secret Service agents and you see emerging into your peripheral vision a guy at a dead sprint, you might assume fairly quickly that something non-ideal is happening. You might put your body in the middle of the court, maybe put a shoulder into him, maybe wrap his legs up, put a nice little football tackle on him. It's not like he's there for some innocent purpose. He would not be sprinting down the corridor if he was there for some non-nefarious business.
If he was there on official business and running that fast, you would probably recognize him, given that you are a presidential detail.
But you want to know what the first thing I thought of was when the news was just emerging and the reports were still sketchy and it still wasn't clear that the shooter wasn't actually inside the room, that all the high value targets were inside. The first thing I thought of, not making this up, was John Malkovich in The Line of Fire. His little ceramic gun that he disguised as a one shooter and got it in there, and it didn't set off the magnetometers, and he puts it together under the table, and Clint Eastwood takes the bullet. Everybody lives happily ever after. Spoiler alert. Sorry.
The issue there is not so much the gun as it is the bullet and the firing pin.
It's true. Because
we 3D print guns all day, but getting that bullet through there is going to be a bitch. That's lead, bro. That's lead, copper, brass.
Oh, that's right. I remember how he worked around that. Remember, he had a rabbit's foot key ring thingy.
Right.
So it's got a little metal top on it. So he's hollowed it out and sticks the bullet in there, and Bob's your uncle.
That'll do it, bro.
That's the first thing I thought of, though, because there's when you think that the shooter was actually inside the room, there's only really two alternatives there, and neither of them are all that great. The first is the John Malkovich 3D printed ceramic gun thing, and the only other way is that the shooter is someone who is allowed to have a gun, and that's the most horrible thing to contemplate of them all.
Yeah,
because then it's an inside job of some sort.
Right, that's where it becomes an issue. I don't know, dude. I got no idea who this guy is. I've heard a little bit about his online activities, which seem to be right down the barrel of what you would expect for somebody.
Central casting, dude. Straight out of Central Casting. Yep.
Yeah, just like the last guy. But I wanted to open this one with "You Missed Again, Bitch," but you suggested a different because if you remember the last time, that's how we opened was "You Missed, Bitch."
Yep.
I thought it would have been fitting.
You got a little sliver of ear, but you fucking missed.
Right? That's still a miss.
A sliver
which means
of
a win is a win.
A sliver of ear is not going to feed the bulldog, son.
Right? I hear you barking. Anyway, so I subjected you to some horrible propaganda this week.
You make me watch some weird movies, man.
You're welcome. So we watched him, not together, not like a watch party, separately. We haven't really discussed it. And my wife hit me with my favorite theory that I've heard yet, and beat me to it is what kind of upset me. Like I'm proud of her, to be honest.
I'm not sure how to quickly synopsize the plot.
Oh, we'll show the trailer. That's okay. How we do this, right?
Good idea.
We go, bam.
Do I look at you or the camera?
You'll just look right at me. You'll just ignore the camera.
Okay.
There are a lot of people saying you could be the next great quarterback.
I can already see it now. Cam running down the tunnel with the crowd chanting his name.
I hear you've been invited to train with legend Isaiah White himself. Care to elaborate?
I want to be the GOAT. Cameron King. Great meeting you. I'm a fan. That's crazy. I damn near worship you growing up. Who are you?
I'm him.
Who are you?
I'm him. Monta.
Let's play a little catch. We going to the league! You want to play at your highest level? You want to be a legend? Let me tell you something. This ain't a game. Who are they? Just gonna toss the ball around a little. You wanna hit this? You can't handle it. I understand. Oh, too slow. Wait, what are we doing? That man's smile about to be on the floor. This is how you do your teammate? What is this?
Set hard! Eagle loves enemies. Set hard! Set hard! Set hard!
In this game, violence is rewarded, so learn to enjoy it.
Get your shit together! Activate my hip.
Cam, are you okay?
I think something's off.
You don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, we playing some football!
Don't have to do this.
Activate my hip.
I've never been more certain of anything in my life. And how bad does Cameron Cade want it?
I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
I'm not just gonna give it to you. You got to take it from me.
I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
What if I say no? Run. Think of it as a gift from the God.
Killer, but don't push me. So what are you willing to sacrifice? Everything!
All right. So, a lot to get into on that.
The trailer makes it look like more of a sports movie than it actually is. That's interesting.
It is. That's kind of what we went in expecting to watch, was something to do with football, and instead what you get is like your classic Satanist Baphomet imagery entwined with, and I don't think I think the reason that football isn't included a whole lot, it's more the sacrifice, the dedication, the intent, all of that, the willingness to perform vile and unspeakable acts in order to accomplish your dreams, right?
Right. And they really beat you over the head right off the bat with the fact that you are going to get heavy doses of Jesus metaphor, not just from the name of the picture, but also the fact that the team that drafts him is called the San Antonio Saviors. So, you know, it doesn't take much to get from point A to point B intellectually on that one. But
sure.
yeah,
and
it's really not as much of a sports movie as that trailer would lead one to believe. So that's an interesting choice.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason that the movie itself didn't lean into the football more is because the football was a metaphor for insert very niche thing here. There's always some group at the top that sit around and arbitrates everything. Everybody pretends there's not, but there always is, and there are usually more than a dozen Karens involved with it. And so anybody who's got half a mind on them can't get into the inner echelon of most of these upper groups, and decisions are made by people who have no actual skin in the game.
And I guess we should probably give the customary spoiler warning before we get much deeper into the plot. So
Right.
there it is. There's your spoiler warning.
Now, my favorite theory that I've heard explains absolutely everything and makes perfect freaking sense once you break it down.
Lay it
One
on
of
me.
the very first scenes in the movie, homeboy is out there and he's throwing the ball, he's doing the thing, the Cade fellow, right? The new blood.
Mm-hmm.
He's out there doing the football thing, training, and he beams the ball off of the upright, the goalpost, and the goalpost goes jigga, 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 and it pans down, and there's a bolt in the goalpost that is backed out 3/4 of a turn. It's not all the way in, and the whole pole is just shaking. And then it pans down to him walking over to that ball, and it's spinning. And the next scene is the Savior mascot hitting him in the back of the head with a hammer. My wife hit me with this one. That pole fell on his head, and the rest of this is his trip to the hospital and his experiences while dying.
And that was along the lines of my first theory, which I texted you about when I was probably 45 minutes into the movie, and I said, don't tell me if I'm right, but I feel like we're watching the black football version of the movie we talked about a while back with all the German guys in the tank, where they had actually all gotten blown up on the bridge, and everything that we saw subsequently was just a hallucination of their descent into hell, basically. And I thought that's what this was. I thought this was The Sixth Sense, the German tank movie, just with different window dressing on it. I thought when we got to the end of the picture, we were going to get that standard montage that you usually get in those type of movies, where someone is explaining the whole thing, that, you've been dead this whole time. This was your 40-day descent into hell. And they run through all of the suspicious things that weren't adding up, all the weird, freaky occurrences and everything. And they try as best they can to wrap the whole thing up in a pretty bow. This movie doesn't even attempt to give us any explanation at the end as far as the actual nature of the things we've been witnessing the whole time, which I think is an interesting choice. If they had tried to give it the kind of resolution I was thinking it would have, I think it would be all in all kind of a better motion picture than it is. I mean, it's a very creative, very avant-garde final sequence. It looks very immaculate. It's great for what it is, but there is no attempt made to explain what we've actually been watching for the last 2 hours, which is strange because on the one hand, they are really beating you over the head very unsubtly with the Jesus metaphor stuff and the descent into hell stuff. But on the other hand, they don't bother attempting to explain anything at the end. So this one left me feeling a little bit confused on a couple of different levels. I don't know about you. What was your experience?
So I think it's not subtle. I don't think any of it's supposed to be subtle. I think if you're reading too many subtle meanings into this movie, you might be overthinking it too much, because the one throughput that really intrigued me was the blood. Remember what the man said. I've got the blood of the man before me who has the blood of the man before him, and in so yes. much as we are immortal by being him. I am that guy.
And the blood I put in you wasn't my blood. It was the blood from this guy, the OG 3 generations ago, which made me ask then why are you getting your blood taken out? But I guess that's unimportant.
Well, I think there's a whole bunch of implications there, and this is where the subtlety actually comes into it. There's a thing in sports called blood doping, where you have your blood removed, and at a later point you have the red blood cells returned to your blood so that you can go climb a fucking mountain or some shit.
I know it's very popular with cyclists, I believe.
Right. And it's also completely, you can't test for it. There's almost no way to find out you're doing it. it's legitimate cheating when it comes down to it, because no natural human can do that. You have to blood dope in order to carry that much oxygen in your blood. It can also cause like strokes and shit. Anyway,
Yep.
I think this was a reference to blood doping. I think this was a reference to the whole cannibalism, but in this case by way of transfusion and infusion. I think the idea that that original goat back in the mid-20s or whenever it was, that was the quarterback for that team then, putting his blood into this guy and the next guy and the next guy, or did they just draw off 500 pints of his ass over the course of his life and they're still doping folks with it? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Something else that kept occurring to me throughout the runtime was the legend of Robert Johnson and the Crossroads.
Right.
I kept thinking of that over and over and over again with some of that imagery they were throwing at us, as far as, you know, being in search of some special knowledge or otherworldly talent, and you have to, the only way to gain it is by making a bargain with the devil. And I kept getting those vibes over and over again.
Right. And it's, like I said, it's not terribly subtle. I think you have to look at the obvious points in this movie where it literally hits you over the head with a wiffle ball bat and says message, right? Message, you know, and then look for the subtlety in those points, because I don't think whoever made this was trying to be subtle, because clearly you have to sell out. You have no choice. And the entire experience that's portrayed is forcing you to basically violate everything you hold dear in your life. You have to abandon your family. You have to get rid of your phone. You have to dedicate yourself to training at least as much as this asshole who's, 10 years older than you. And yet he runs you straight into the ground. But you find later that it's not because he's actually in better shape. It's because he's on every drug known to man. And also blood doping with, ancient quarterback DNA or some shit, and
the older you get and the longer your career goes on, not only do you have to work harder to maintain the same level of performance, but you also have to cheat harder. So you have to sell out even more when you're old than you did when you were young if you actually want to attain greatness and become Black Tom Brady, which is basically who this Isaiah character was. He was Black Tom Brady. Same number of rings and everything.
So here's the deeper stroke on that. I don't think this is about football, right? No. Nowhere in it does it specify football. It just shows a football player going through this. I think the analogy goes across the entire spectrum of the politico-educatement sphere, right? Right. Notice I put together edutainment because it's political, education, and entertainment. That whole block, right? And I don't hate the movie. I don't hate the movie. I'm sorry. I don't hate the movie.
Yeah, I don't think I hate it either.
If it had been more deceptive, I might have some animosity towards it. But the fact that it was so blatantly blunt and on the nose, I'm left being forced to respect whoever made it for being, clear.
Yeah, and I still don't even know who made it. I don't think I know anything except the fact that the Isaiah guy is a member of the Wayans family, because I think I saw a cast list that he's one
of them Wayans boys. That's true.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is about the Wayans family that makes them all look so unmistakable, but there is something that makes them look unmistakable. When you are looking at a Wayans, you know it. Like, even if I had not seen the name, I would have known it was a Wayans family member.
Got more kids than that Wayans woman.
I know they.
That's two. That's twice this episode.
And how does he even fit into the family? I'm gonna pull up Wikipedia and find out.
No, he's Damon. He's Damon and Ivory's brother. That's Marlon Wayans. Pretty sure.
Wow, he's the littlest brother?
I think so.
Holy
Ivory's
shit,
the oldest and Damon's the second, right?
Did she have children like between age 15 and age 60? Jesus Christ.
I mean, I don't know exactly. I just know there's a whole drove of them, and they all went into variations of comedy, stage work, acting, singing, that kind of stuff.
All right, here it is. I almost got it. Let's see. Oh God,
Well-
that's actually no, that can't be right. They must have de-aged him? I thought that was
Uh-uh.
Marlon Wayans. I thought that was Marlon Wayans' kid. I didn't think that was actual Marlon Wayans. That fucker's older
That's
than
him,
me.
bro.
That dude is
I know.
53.
I know. Black don't crack, bro.
Holy shit balls. God,
He looks 29.
they must have de-aged his ass for this. There's no freaking way that 53 can pass for what, 35?
So okay, so
He actually did sell
a
his soul
few
to the devil.
things I
He
know
doesn't
about
fucking
Marlon
yell at me.
Wayans. A few things I know about Marlon Wayans. He's more method actor than comedian. When he goes into a character, he is in that character until the film is finished, and he runs around doing all the things that character would do, type stuff, right? And I have no problem believing that man was dedicated enough to get out there and run to 440 at a competitive rate, because he strikes me as the kind of man who would do that, which is yet another reason why I don't hate the film. If he was de-aged, it was excellently done.
Oh yeah, I never would have known. I thought it was the dude's kid and not the actual dude. So the de-aging, fucking chef's kiss. You kidding me?
I mean, a lot of effort
Apparently-
went into this film. They were
Apparently
very
there-
clever. Hold on. They're very clever on how they did the set, because they did it all in a closed set studio by doing it in a mansion, and with all the gizmos and everything built into the location, that makes it a lot easier to do really heavy green screen type work if you want to.
Yeah, and that's why they had as little as possible on-field football action, because got to keep the budget down, and that's, a smart way of doing it, because you're dealing with fake teams that you're making up for the purposes of the movie. So each time you depict a game, you have to get a whole bunch of uniforms and helmets for fake teams, and that shit gets really expensive in a big damn hurry.
And you can kind of skip all of that by using a generic Joe Blow kind of blank stub. I kind of find it weird that the Savior's mascot was a conquistador type. That struck me as strange, with a hammer.
That
What's up with
was kind of, yeah. I was kind of flummoxed by that too.
I don't
know.
get it.
I'm just now looking at the movie's Wikipedia page for the first time, because I literally know nothing about it except the fact that I
Nothing
watched
at all.
it. Because I like to take that approach whenever I can, so that my, when I talk about the thing, I'm not being influenced by what somebody else thought about it. But do you want me to read the Wikipedia plot synopsis real fast, in case
Sure,
that's
we'll
helpful
see what
for the
they think
audience?
about it.
All right. Young Cameron Cade watches his favorite football team, the San Antonio Saviors, win the league championship. His joy turns to distress when his quarterback idol, Isaiah White, suffers a violent, possibly career-ending injury while scoring the winning touchdown. Cam's father tells him that real men are willing to make such sacrifices. Years later, Cam's father has died, and Cam is now a rising football star. Encouraged by his family and girlfriend, Jasmine, he trains for the league combine. While practicing late on an empty field, Cam is ambushed and assaulted by an unidentified figure in a goat costume, causing a head injury that endangers his career. Motivated by his agent, Tom, Cam plans to attend the combine to pursue the Savior's quarterback position, despite the risk of permanent brain damage if he sustains another injury. While overstimulated due to his concussion, Cam lashes out at his brothers Drew and Tom, ultimately refusing to participate in the combine. Tom later reveals that Isaiah is considering retirement and has offered to train Cam for a week at a remote desert compound to prove himself a worthy successor. Cam accepts and travels there, encountering crazed Isaiah fans led by Marjorie, who try to intimidate him out of replacing their hero. At the compound, Isaiah puts Cam through disturbing challenges, including a practice drill where a jugs machine repeatedly hits a player in the face, and another drill where Cam severely headbutts another player. Cam secretly receives shots of Isaiah's blood, which he is led to believe is an energy booster, and experiences frequent hallucinations of masked figures, which he attributes to the concussions. While in a sauna, Cam is attacked by Marjorie and overpowers her. Isaiah arrives and kills her, leaving Cam unsettled by his apparent lack of remorse for doing so. As Cam tries to leave, Isaiah's wife, Elsie, apologizes for Isaiah's behavior and seduces Cam. Cam wakes the next morning to Isaiah holding him at gunpoint, demanding to know if Cam and Elsie slept together. Isaiah ridicules Cam for feeling guilty about cheating on Jasmine, saying winners are remorseless. Elsie invites Cam to a secret party to meet the owners of the Saviors. When Cam arrives, Marco, the team doctor, whispers to him to run before leaving. The owners offer Cam a strange red liquid, which he drinks, unaware that it is Isaiah's blood. A disoriented Cam finds Marco's severed head in a plastic-lined room. Elsie comforts him as he loses consciousness. Cam later wakes up in an ice bath at Isaiah's compound, connected to an IV of Isaiah's blood. He rips out the IV, injects a serum given by Marco, and grabs a jagged trophy, aiming to kill Isaiah and escape. Cam finds Isaiah watching a video of cheering fans. Isaiah reveals he is part of a line of manufactured greatest of all time GOAT players who gain enhanced abilities from ritual blood transferred down a lineage. Isaiah tells Cam they must fight to the death with one GOAT transfusion victor. After a struggle, Cam bludgeons Isaiah to death with a helmet. Cam leaves the room and steps onto a football field where he finds Elsie, the Savior's owners, and Tom all wearing animal masks. They present him with a contract to sign, revealing that Cam's father arranged for him to be the next GOAT. They explain that the earlier masked attack was orchestrated to lead Cam to the Saviors so no one else would want to draft him. Cam refuses to sign the contract. After an owner threatens to kill his family for refusing to sign, Cam snaps and kills the masked attacker, who is revealed to be Isaiah and Cam's trainer, Malik, using a warhammer. An enraged Elsie attempts to attack Cam, but she dies accidentally, stabbing herself in the neck while he kills all the owners with a sword. However, he spares Tom, who is dragged into a pentagram and destroyed by an unseen force. Outside the compound, a bloodied Cam walks past masked cheerleaders into the desert. The end. Fade to black.
Right. So
it sounds
it's
even
a
more
wild
confusing
ride.
than watching the fucking thing.
Which is saying something, because it's very confusing watching it. Would I watch it twice? Not sure. Haven't done it yet. Considered it. Thought about doing it. But I watched it like last Monday, right? And it's one of the few movies recently that I've been able to sit all the way through and just watch the whole thing without having to get up and go iron my brain for a little while. But I did want to watch it.
I don't know if I would watch it a second time for myself. I would, however, watch it a second time if I just wanted to show it to somebody else to see, just to be like, I got something fucked up for you to watch.
Right.
Just to see someone else's reaction, I would be willing to watch it again, I think.
Yeah, okay. Do agree. I might do a watch party on this one later, but it'll be probably a Rumble thing or maybe just a private recording. I don't know. But yeah, it's something I'd show to somebody, not something I'd willingly put myself through again. But like I said, I don't hate it.
I don't think I do either. And as you know, unlike yourself, I always make an effort to try and watch the movie on its own terms. Like I try to shut off the part of my brain that tries to figure out the plot before, the filmmaker wants me to know that information. Sometimes it works better than others, but this was a case where I was so sure that he was going to be dead the whole time. And then he wasn't. Like I was absolutely convinced he was dead the whole time. And I thought there was a dash of Robert Johnson at the crossroads in there. And I also, another thing that it kept reminding me of repeatedly, specifically the sudden appearances and disappearances of like grotesque otherworldly creature type things. It reminded me of The Terror when those
are fans, bro. Those are fans.
Yeah, I know. But it reminded me of The Terror when they are, starting to get into the mystical supernatural Eskimo shit. And there's like weird creatures just popping into frame for a second and then going away. It reminded me of that. I would not be surprised to hear that was, in terms of the avant-gardeness and esotericness of some of the imagery, it would not surprise me to hear that was one of the influences. Like I was telling you backstage before the show, I think there's kind of a fun little stew of ingredients in this particular cinematic smoothie that it's kind of fun to go and pick them out individually.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking is maybe do a watch party where we go through it literally scene by scene. Watch it, loop back on it, watch it again, talk about it, watch it, because I don't think this is telling a story. I think it's more like a warning.
Oh, how about this? There's 2 alternate endings. You want to hear about these?
Ooh.
The first alternate ending reveals that Isaiah survived his beating. He watches TV as Cam is shown to have won the Super Bowl for the Saviors, revealing that Cam signed the contract. Alternate ending number 2 reveals that Cam joined another football team and managed to win the championship with them, seemingly without the help of any rituals or other outside demonic forces. And who doesn't love being able to win a championship without outside demonic forces? The film ends with Cam staring at a spinning football, hinting that despite not selling his soul, the unknown entities are still following him.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I'm still completely mind-fucked by the Marlon Wayans thing.
Really?
I mean, mind
That's
blown.
Funny. That's Smokey.
I want to find out more about the director, Justin Tipping, whoever the hell that is. He is this is his 4th film, apparently. I haven't heard of any of his prior 3 films. He made a picture called Kicks in 2016. He made a picture called Flatbush Misdemeanors in that's a television series. And Joe versus Carol is also a television series from 2022. So this is only his 2nd cinematic feature, if we can even call it a cinematic feature.
Spell Kicks.
Just the regular way, K-I-C-K-S.
Okay. I'm saying it's nothing clever, right?
No.
Hate it when they get clever.
Oh, it's about shoes.
Yeah, it does seem to be. Okay, it's not a movie, is it?
It says it's an adventure film here. Okay. Kicks is a 2016 American adventure film directed by Justin Tipping in his directorial debut.
I got a Rotten Tomatoes trailer.
Ooh, let's watch it.
I think this is it. Kicks official trailer. Joaquin Guillory, Mahershala Ali movie HD. Rotten Tomatoes 9 years ago, 2016. I think it's it. Do the thing.
Sometimes I wish I had a spaceship. Just hang out in space where it's quiet. And no one can mess with me. I'm from the East Bay. Those are my best friends. We do everything together.
Girl, can't you see me in the studio?
You in a closet with your fat ass.
Sometimes it feel like everybody cooler than me. Maybe because I'm small, can't play pickup, can't pull no girls.
Hey! Will Smith's son looking little boy. Come here. These cost more than your life. Those is tight.
Hey, where'd you get your shoes?
Damn.
What up, boy? We got them shoes for you. Come on! Give me that chance! Yo, let it go.
Hey, yo!
Whoa!
Hey, when you see Flacco, tell him I'm looking for him.
You ain't gonna do nothing.
Watch me.
It's my nephew. That's what you coming for.
Look, looking for Flacco.
You such a man now, gonna be a man. You got a problem, you gotta handle your business yourself.
You slide with us tonight, you'll run into him. What? You scared?
Chin up, chest out when it's flame time.
You got a gun now?
Can be a man if I let another claim mine.
I ain't time for your shoes.
They crossed the line.
Maybe I was wrong about you.
They crossed the line. Sometimes I wish I could hang out in space where it's quiet.
5, 4, 3, 2.
I don't hate it. Right?
Yeah, it looks a little bit kind of interesting, really.
It's not for me. Clearly, it wasn't made to suit me. So, like, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, as trailers go, it's a serviceable trailer.
What's up, Mike? Welcome in, brother. Queenberg, good to see you.
Queenbird in the house. Hello,
absolutely.
Queen.
So
good to see you.
I don't know. I might have to go check out some more of this dude's work.
You know what else I was wondering is I'm looking for the release information. It looks like it grossed 25 million in the US and Canada, so it did get a theatrical release. When I was watching it, I didn't know if it was something that got a theatrical release or one of those movies that was just shot for.
You're talking about him? Yeah.
Like
Apparently it did.
Like a Netflix in-house type of thing, but apparently it wasn't. I mean, 25 million's nothing to sneeze at for a low budget indie film like that.
Right? I mean, and I got to give the creators of this some freaking daps. They hit a lot of tinfoil hat theory, like shotgun blast across the full spectrum of it. Everything from the freaky animal head mysteries to the upper elite blood parties and the super secret cabal of people pulling strings and making decisions behind the scenes, and the Illuminati and all of the other visualizations that go with it.
Boy, the critics sure hate the damn thing. 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. Out of 200,
okay.
200. I know that doesn't mean jack shit, but the website's consensus reads, fumbling the ball well before the red zone, Him has style to spare, but botches its promising concept with rookie execution. And I think that's actually a pretty accurate synopsis.
Fair enough.
It's kind of the same thing I've been saying, that it's an interesting concept that I might be interested how it would turn out in the hands of a director who was more capable of nuance and subtlety, you know?
I would like to see this same director do it again in like 10 or 15 years. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea.
I bet it would be a much more poignant film.
And I think if we went and read some of those negative reviews, it might be a commonly occurring theme. The thing the thing I was mentioning before, that I thought it was strange that they don't give any sort of resolution at the end as far as the actual nature of what it is that we've been watching for the last 2 hours. And that's the sort of thing that audiences can sometimes find off-putting.
Talking about him.
Some people who are, fans of avant-garde cinema, they like that ambiguity and that lack of a clear answer, but general audiences, not really so much. Like I said, I would have preferred it. I think it would be a better movie if they had gone the route that I thought they were going, and he's actually been dead this whole time, and we've been looking at his descent into hell, just like we were looking at with the Germans in the Tank movie. And then
there's a couple of things on that Tank movie that hit me right out the freaking gate. The deer on the bridge. That deer on that bridge. I paused it when I saw that deer. I said, "These people aren't getting out of this live." My wife looked at me and was like, "I hate you." I said, "I know. I love you too."
Well, yeah, and in retrospect, you can totally see that the deer is a big, gigantic Easter egg
right? And the reason is the logic behind that deer being there is just inconceivable, because you're talking about 500,000 Germans behind one line and 500,000 Americans and British behind the other line, and that deer's the tastiest thing they've seen in months. There is no future where that deer makes it to that bridge at all. There is impossible.
No future, just like the Sex Pistols said.
Right. I kind of feel like I liked it better without a resolution, quite honestly. It had a certain amount of have you ever seen Primer? So it's one of these.
I think I have seen it, but
avant-garde.
I don't remember anything about it.
I'm sure it's a hard one, dude. It slips right through the cracks because conceptually it's impossible to explain. In Primer, a guy invents a time machine, but the only way the time machine works is if you built the time machine before you need the time machine. And so you have to build the time machine and then wait, and you can go back to the time you built the time machine.
Yeah.
But no further, right?
And I remember now that I attempted to watch it and didn't get very far because I just wasn't prepared in that moment to devote the mental energy that the film required in order to fully comprehend it. Yeah,
it's a difficult one.
Failed. Yep.
There are entire YouTube channels dedicated to parsing out the plot lines in that film, and it's because the people who did it did such a fantastic job of tying them together, right? The premise that you can only go back as far as the time machine has been made, which means that the one person who's completely out of the loop is actually the last iteration to go in, is wild.
And I recall thinking that it looks like it could be interesting, maybe another time when I'm more prepared to devote the attention it warrants, I'll come back and try and watch it again. And I never gave it another thought until right now. So maybe I'll have to put that one back on my list.
It's worth a sit through, even though the first time you watch it, it's absolute gobbledygook because nothing makes sense. And the reason is it's backwards, right? And this is Primer we're talking about now. With him, it's got a similar type of flavor in that he achieves success, like serious success, before he gets tapped for this super special occult goat training meeting thing, right? And the reason he's not going to the combine, the reason he's not participating in his dream is A, because they had his ass whacked, and B, because this is his choice to do this thing,
Yeah. And some of the reviews are really quite positive. It got a positive review from Variety. Variety says, amid the thrills, him gets you thinking about the sport and all that it demands, potentially making monsters of our heroes in the process. But as the saying goes, don't hate the player, hate the game. Hollywood Reporter says the performers give it their all, with writers impressively handling the intense physicality with Withers impressively handling the intense physicality of his role, and Wayans effectively intimidating as the football legend whose prowess isn't purely natural. But by the time it gets to the truly baroque, extremely gory final act that will leave audience members either hooting in delight or shaking their heads in derision, him has long since gone off the rails. That's also kind of a pretty apt description too. But you get the feeling from time to time that the picture doesn't know exactly what it wants to be or whom it wants to be for.
I think that's part of the program, though. I think it's done that way to show the lack of control that is in all of this controlled environment, right? Because the whole thing is done inside this freaking super mansion with, every possible convenience you can imagine. And yet in this is a literal life and death struggle to survive leaving this place alive.
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess you get out of it what you put into it when you think about it.
And you go to a remote desert location and you descend into a subterranean place where everything is constantly bathed in red light. And so you're leaning pretty heavily into the metaphor of Jesus and the legend of his 40 days in the desert, aren't you? Because I felt like I was being smacked over the head with that.
I mean, I can see it. I didn't think of it that way initially. I thought it more of it like, who was it? David that wrestled the angel? Daniel wrestled the angel, right?
Yeah, you got it. Yep.
And, that was the metaphor that seemed to be smacking me upside the head when they were in there and he beat him down with the fucking helmet, you know.
You know what else? Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. No, you're good, dude.
Another thing that kept occurring to me was the scar on his head, the row of staples from the head injury resulting from the attack. It was,
Right.
they were kind of, how do I want to say this? Location wise, it was kind of in the same position that a horn would be. And we don't know exactly whether that's a goat horn / devil horn being depicted, or the other thing that occurred to me is Moses, because maybe this is a Moses metaphor in addition to a Jesus metaphor, because as we know, during the high Renaissance and so forth, and even earlier than that, going all the way back to the Middle Ages, in ecclesiastical art, when Moses was depicted, he was always depicted with horns, especially by sculptors and painters. And I think it's due to an interpretation of one certain passage in Leviticus that seems to imply that after Moses had his supernatural experiences, he was perfect. He was permanently marked by the growing of horns out of his head, and that the placement of that little scar and how prominent they made it kept causing me to think of that. And maybe I'm just imagining imagery where it doesn't exist, but I could also picture that that's the kind of thing they were attempting to imply.
So I like the delving or the implications involving a lot of the X-ray imagery and whatnot, and the damage that takes place on helmet to helmet contact, and the types of impacts that take place in this game. I think it was also a nod towards what is it called? Chronic
CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Right, is basically where your brain jelly gets shook so hard the synapses don't touch no more.
Yeah, and that is another one of the undercurrents that you have running through this narrative, quite unmistakably, is the association between football and head trauma, and oftentimes the dissociative events and hallucinations that can often result from that trauma over the course of years. And it renders some people into vegetables and kills some of them. Some people commit suicide because they can't stand the shit anymore.
Right. So, plot twist. They hit him in the head to traumatize him so that they can implant a Neuralink and control him like a video game. It's not quite there yet. They're still working on the design.
Yep. I love it. Somebody's gonna fix it though.
So
somebody's working on it already.
What observation I have to make on that is there were several scenes in which he had blood come out of his eye, and another scene he had blood come out of, several scenes where he had blood come out of his nose, and a couple of scenes where blood leaked from the actual wound itself. Something to keep in mind. That wound at that point in time had taken place several days, possibly weeks before, because he had to opt out of the combine due to quote unquote injury before he could accept the trip to go do the Isaiah thing. You find out at the end that his dad set all this up beforehand, right? So essentially this kid was sold into servitude by his father for fame, fortune, and a slice of American apple pie.
Yeah, and we have the reference to blood coming out of the tear ducts as something associated with head trauma. And could that be an allusion to the because we know that crying statues are a common form of old Catholic iconography. There are lots of legends about statues of Jesus and the Virgin Mary manifesting tears that are made of blood. So maybe that's a reference to that, or maybe also, or maybe both, it's a reference to Stigmata. And I guess you could interpret it either one of those ways, or even both if you wanted to.
Didn't somebody stab his ass in the side at some point?
That sounds familiar.
I can't put my finger on exactly who, but he got gigged, I thought. But I kept watching for it, and I remember kind of nodding and thinking, okay, well, that applies. But anyway, it's I suspect it's a movie that will be talked about more in a few years than it is right now. Mainly because, much like what's the name of that book? Stranger in a Strange Land. The first time you view it, you don't really know what you're seeing. And so you have to see it and then contemplate on it and then watch it again, and you can understand what it is you're actually seeing a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah, the theatrical release was September of last year, and then within just a couple weeks, first week of October, it comes out on the streaming platforms.
Yeah, so it didn't make a huge splash.
Well, and, but if
what did it come out against?
Good question. Let me pull up another window and I'll find that out.
Because I feel like if that had been opposite something like, oh, I don't know, I mean, obviously nothing Marvel, but like fucking, I can't even think of a movie that came out in that time frame. Everything I think of is streaming service stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of a graveyard for theatrical releases that week. We've got Black
And it
Rabbit,
still died?
Aztec Batman. What the hell is Aztec Batman? I don't know. Oh wait, these aren't theatrical. These are streaming service shit. Hold on, let me narrow down my search criteria.
Enhance.
Zoom and enhance.
But while we're waiting, I'm going to look up Aztec Batman.
I know. I want to watch that just for the name, goddammit.
Right?
So him is one of the ones on the list here. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey came out the same day. Never heard of that. Xeno came out the same day. Never heard of that. And Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, came out several days later. But that is it for the week of
The wise man told me.
September.
I apologize.
No, you're fine. You got something else to watch?
I found the trailer for Aztec Batman.
Oh, boom. You the man.
I have no idea what to tell you, but it's from IGN. Good luck, folks. I hope we make it through it.
Hey, we already made...
Go ahead.
We already made Namor the Submariner a fucking Aztec. Why not make everybody an Aztec?
Right? Why not?
I can kill you or inspire you to action.
My son, when you take my place, it'll be your duty to always be ready for battle.
What are those?
What are those?
Yeah,
Dude, this is horrible.
That didn't get past me either.
I thought it was wrong to culturally appropriate shit. Like, this is deep, bro.
Yeah, you cannot do that. It was bad enough when they did that joke in Black Panther. It's worse here.
What are those?
My hands control the power of destiny. What I want is gold.
Impossible. We have strict rules in place that forbid this.
Rules are rules.
Slaughter them all!
And now we have to live with Montezuma's revenge. Damn it.
The fuck does any of this have to do with Batman?
Nothing at all.
Are you all right? Where's your father?
Looks like an ass rape.
I'm going to...
I feel like this would have been better cast as a Zorro spinoff. I'm sorry. Like, just squint and pretend Batman is Zorro, and it makes so much more sense.
Stop Cortez. I want you to train.
I'm talking a Marvel DC crossover. Aztec Batman fights Aztec
down.
Namor the Submariner.
Hold on.
We're gonna make $1 billion.
We've already been taken down. Apparently, that was too far.
Aztec Batman is too far.
Aztec Batman is too far. I do apologize there. Let me check my
Aztec
email.
Batman is the line that you just can't cross.
Let's see how bad it is.
Look up Xeno. Xeno.
Copyright notice. Due to copyright notice, it was interrupted. Yep. No,
Yeah, that only
automatically enabled. According to this, it should pop back up in a second. Maybe.
We've only had that happen once or
too.
twice, haven't we?
It was always doing trailers. Always.
Fucking YouTube.
I know, man. But what can you do? It's the movie places, actually. It says we still got 15 people in chat. We're not streaming the thing anymore. Don't know. Just says it was interrupted. Doesn't say it was taken down, and it hasn't removed our viewership yet. So, I mean, hopefully, just give it a minute and they'll be back, or not. I don't really know what to tell you at this point.
See if you can find a trailer for Xeno.
Hey, we're back. Well, that was nerve-wracking. Apparently, Aztec Batman is just too far. It's across the line. We could do him. We could do all kinds of other stuff. But Aztec Batman is an absolute no-no. Just put that in your little black book and smoke it or something. I don't know.
We didn't even get to the Batman part. I want to know what the fuck any of that had to do with Batman. When does Bruce Wayne show up? Where's fucking Harley Quinn and Robin and the Joker?
I don't think it's Bruce Wayne. I think it's just an Aztec dude that also does the Batman motif.
Aztec Batman.
Correct me if I'm wrong though, but wasn't that a Japanese tradition that he borrowed from for the whole Dark Knight theme?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
That's what I thought.
But you know what?
Yeah, we got copyrighted.
Is, thanks, YouTube, you cocksuckers. What I'm wondering is, since our movie Him came out during a week that was such a wasteland for theatrical premieres, I wonder if that 25 million actually won the week. It might have.
It might have. It might not have been the bomb you're thinking, or I'm thinking. I was thinking it was a bomb. 25 million don't. But I guess if it was a small run, right? That might actually be very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, it gets theatrically released on 18 September and 7 October. It's coming out on the streaming services, so it doesn't have very long in which to make. It's probably only got 2 weekends to make its theatrical money.
It didn't even catch a matinee.
Yeah, so budget 27 million, theatrical box office 28 million. Everything they make on streaming is gravy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I guess it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say the thing lost money. I mean, it might not be a huge success, but it's not a. You can't call it a flop or a bomb. Yeah,
right. It's a success by the numbers. So, and it being weird enough that it will probably continue pulling in numbers for a significant portion of its future.
Well, right. If your Netflix feed is throwing it at you and your suggested things to watch, then there must be a reason for that. It must be gaining some kind of. It must be gaining some kind of a foothold if they're putting it right in front of your eyeballs.
Let me explain that I have a very weird Netflix feed, sir.
I don't doubt it for a moment, sir.
I didn't hate The Village. Everyone hated The Village, and I went, that was clever. I mean, I spotted it right out the gate, but at the same time, it was a nice movie. I enjoyed it.
the Aztecs were waiting for Batman to come around and help him throw off Spaniard dominion.
Here's observation. He failed.
You fuckers might have horses and armor, but we got fucking Batman, bitch.
Oh, wow. They could have gone with the Black Jaguar on that one. And it would have been funnier.
Oh.
Zorro would have been better, dude. Maybe that was why we got copyrighted, because I said it should be Zorro. Oh, wow.
I'm happy not only that Aztec Batman exists, but I'm happy that I now know it exists. Just because you made me watch this other movie. And I love it when a plan comes together. What a happy accident that was.
Serendipity in action, folks. I've got HBO Max. I'm going to go watch Aztec Batman just as soon as I leave here. I'm not even joking.
I may have blissfully lived out my entire life having no knowledge of Aztec Batman existing, but now that problem has been solved. And oh, you bet your sweet ass I'm going to watch that son of a bitch.
Right? We'll be back next week to tell you about Aztec Batman and how much cultural appropriation is appropriate.
It's got to be on I don't know which streaming platform
it's on HBO Max. It's on HBO Max. Yeah.
Aztec Batman in the house, bitches.
Right? I'm definitely going to try to figure that out some kind of how. I'm going to find it. I think I have HBO Max. I'm pretty sure most of what we do is HBO, isn't it?
And then we're going to write a script for Aztec Batman versus Aztec Submariner.
Or Aztec Zorro. I think Aztec Zorro could take Aztec Batman.
I still think it's kind of racist that you can defeat Aztec Submariner by making his back less wet.
That's one, motherfucker. You got me.
You're welcome. But it's in the movie. I didn't make that up.
Yeah, right. That's organic. Make it happen.
You defeat Mexican Submariner by unwetting his back. They even built a special machine and everything.
I mean, that's not even our interpretation. That's what they do.
Nope. We are going to suck all the wetness out of that Mexican's back, and that's how we're going to defeat the whatever the hell they were called. I guess they weren't Aztecs. Are they supposed to be Mayans or like blue-skinned Mayans? I don't fucking know.
I think they were supposed to be Atlanteans when it comes down to it. They were using deep Egyptian, Mayan, and Aztec motifs along with some of the Andean stuff that went down. Yeah.
So you have a big final battle between the blacks and the Mexicans. You know, just like in Los Angeles on an average Saturday night.
Stop it. I saw that shit coming from a mile away, bro. I knew exactly where that was going.
Oh yeah, I figured you probably would.
Oh Lord! But here's the thing. Have you looked into any of the recent Native American, not propaganda? What is it? Rhetoric that's been coming out of the Native population?
Not in any great depth. Fill me in.
All right, so they've really embraced this diversity as our strength concept in a way that includes pretty much anything that's not white as being part of the nations. And that, I think we're really sleeping on our Native American brethren. People need to take notice of exactly how they're moving over there in the not American sphere. It's an interesting thing to me.
All right, I've got a question to throw out there. And I know it's a question we've thrown out on this program before, but it bears being thrown out again. And the question is, how long are we going to persist with the same reservation system that we had in the 1880s?
That is a good question. It is an excellent question. I'm curious myself. The best idea I've heard, and I'm not sure it's the best idea there is, was a concept of dual citizenship, which would permit the reservation system to sort of go by the wayside. It wouldn't have to be enforced the same way, but basically, is still inside the reservation, has reservation cops, whereas outside of the reservation, you're in good old fashioned America.
Because there has to be some kind of a way where we can preserve tribal sovereignty, but also try to make it so Indian reservations are not the most depressing places on earth. That stand as a living, breathing object lesson into all the reasons why socialism doesn't work. Because that's if you want to see what socialism looks like in action, we already have it, and it's called every Indian reservation. And now everything is, it used to be at least that everybody lived the same sort of depressing condition, but now you've got a bifurcated, stratified society on all of those reservations, where the people who are poor are still desperately poor and hopeless, but you've also got a new ruling class of the family that owns the casino. So,
and it hasn't balanced yet.
It is everything that anti-capitalists claim is wrong with capitalism existing, on a smaller scale inside of these reservations that are supposed to exist independently of all that. But yeah, we haven't fundamentally changed anything since the 1880s, and I think that's a problem. I think we should have more urgency about fixing that status quo that has persisted for far too long. But maybe I'm just being an idealist here.
Speaking of idealism, right? We've got clips for that.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
Idealism.
Thank you, Anna. Love you, babe.
Thank you, Anna. That's a mighty fine leftist there.
Is she still kind of flirting with getting red pilled, or has she gone back on the reservation?
I think she's secretly been red pilled for a while, but really likes the money where she's at, and so she's sucking on the tit. But
I think you might not be wrong. It must be a hell of a way to live, man.
Who was the guy that said you're a leftist when you're young, and you just hope you live long enough to become a Republican or a conservative? Long enough to become a conservative.
It's an apocryphal saying that is often attributed to Winston Churchill, but which he never said, and I don't know who actually said it.
Probably I don't think the quote doesn't actually say Republican. I believe the quote is publican.
It says liberal and conservative.
It says conservative. Okay.
Let me pull the quote up. I'll find it.
Whew, dodged a bullet there. Oh, gorged. Shucks, I didn't mean to.
All right.
Can you believe it? Aztec Batman is one too far.
Winston Churchill is credited with saying, if you're under 30 and not a liberal, you don't have a heart. But if you're over 30 and not a conservative, you don't have a brain. That is the actual saying, but we don't know exactly. We know for certain that Churchill didn't say it. Is all we're certain of.
Okay, that checks out. I knew it was somebody. I heard it.
As far as who did say it, that's a mystery. I wonder what the AI robot would say about that.
It would probably do some of this.
Let's take a quick run at that. Hold on a sec. I know we're getting close to doing the thing. Just give me a moment. There is no record of Winston Churchill ever saying or writing this famous phrase, and it is likely a misattribution. The quote gained popularity as an adage for the perceived tendency of people to become more conservative with age due to shifting priorities, responsibilities, and changing perspectives on idealism versus pragmatism. And there is no word about who actually said the thing, so
it's probably one of those George R. R. Martin quotes.
Hey, finish the fucking book, George. It doesn't take 15 minutes, 15 years to finish a goddamn book. Finish that thing. Stop doing your little side projects. Finish The Wind's a Winner. We know we're never getting a Dream of Spring, so just set that off to the side. Finish the book that you started 15 years ago is all I'm saying, George. Anyway, enough of that. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks ever so much for joining us here on the Blast Radius tonight. We just had just a delightful time talking about weird, strange movies that my co-host makes me watch from time to time, but I wouldn't have it any other way. We hope you have a fantastic day tomorrow and an edifying day after that and a fulfilling Wednesday and just an absolutely gobsmacking remainder of your week. And we will see you back here next Sunday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, as we always do. Much love. See you next time. Peace out. Get off my lawn.
This one's for you, buddy. Nice.